Yes, we'd like to thank Ayman very much for this presentation. I've known Ayman nearly 20 years now, or 19 years, and it's really a great pleasure that you've finished. And hello to all the new people who've come in. Thank you for coming. Okay. Yes. Now I'd like to just say a word about Lojain, Ibrahim's topic. We will all be patient for 2 minutes. Her parents are coming in. They'll be here soon. Now, Lojain is going to talk about parental involvement in early childhood literacy, international programs, and Egyptian experiences. And if you know about early literacy, you know it has not yet reached the shores of Egypt, on any side of its shores, or in Cairo or in any part. So we're hoping that Lojain and several other people who are working in the program, master students, and many other people we've trained in our professional educator diplomas who are early childhood teachers in different parts of Cairo. We're hoping that the topic of early childhood literacy and early practices in literacy of young children will start to become much more prominent in the coming years, particularly the need for parenting and parenting preparation. And I'm sure you all agree, parenting in the modern time is not like parenting in previous times. So, about how long will they take? Another problem?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Lojain Ibrahim, and I will be presenting my topic, Parental Involvement in Early Childhood Literacy, International Programs, and Egyptian Experiences. And let me begin by telling you that one of the very interesting concepts that I learned about when I started researching about early childhood literacy is the emergent literacy concept. And this concept said that when children start learning some skills from very, very young ages, this makes them more able to learn how to conventionally read when they enter school. So if they learn from very early on some vocabulary, the alphabets, some print conventions, this makes them later on more able. So this concept stressed on the importance of the early years. And when it comes to the parental involvement element, several studies show that the family and the home environment have the largest influence on children when it comes to the early years. So my research stemmed from several problems, including the scarcity of information and research, such as Dr. Lojain just said, on the area of early childhood education in the MENA region generally and in Egypt, the limited preschool and kindergarten enrollment rates in Egypt. In 2014, only 30% of children in Egypt were enrolled in KG facilities, and the scarcity of information about the involvement of Egyptian parents from different socioeconomic levels in their children's early literacy development. So just to give you a very, very basic, brief background about early childhood education in Egypt, the strategic plan for 2014 to 2030 says that the government is currently aiming to increase the access to and quality of KG facilities, yet the case remains that the pre-primary facilities are for fees as opposed to starting primary stage that are totally for free. Only 50% of the kindergartens available are run by the government, the other 50% are owned by NGOs and private owners, so the space itself of the public facilities is very limited, and the public facilities qualities remain inconsistent and to a very large extent use teacher-centered approaches. Now, I wanted to study the case of Egypt and know more about the perceptions of Egyptian parents on the patterns of their involvement with their children in the very early years. But I first had to cover several areas in my literature review. The first area was the concept of emergent literacy itself. The second area was about parental involvement. And the third area that I studied was international programs, usually programs that were in the United States, and that encouraged parental involvement in early childhood literacy. And I specifically wanted to study that to see if any of these programs can later be applied in the Egyptian context. Now, when it comes to the study itself, I focused on 5 main themes. The first theme is KG standing. When it comes to whether parents enroll their children or not, the quality that they think of the facilities their children are enrolled in, and whether these qualities address the parents' needs. The second theme was the parents' awareness of the importance of being involved in their children's early literacy development. The third theme was their willingness to get involved. The fourth theme was their capabilities, because parents can be aware, they can be willing, yet they might not be capable to be involved in developing their children's early literacy. And the fifth and most interesting theme, I guess, is the parents' views on gender roles when it comes to getting involved in developing children's early literacy. So, as for my methodology, as I said, these were the 5 main themes. I used mixed methods where I analyzed data qualitatively and quantitatively through one research tool, which was questionnaires. So the questionnaire included open-ended questions to be analyzed qualitatively and closed-ended questions to be analyzed quantitatively. And the questionnaire, for a very large part, was based on a previous questionnaire that was constructed, conducted, and later published by a very famous author and researcher in the area of early childhood development, Patricia Edwards. And I added some questions to her questionnaire in English, and then I translated it in Arabic, and later conducted the questionnaire online through face-to-face interviews and through phone calls. Later, the data was thematically analyzed. As for my sample, it was a convenient purposive sample. It was a convenient, as you can see, there are only 22 participants, because I wanted to get initial yet very deep in-depth data. And purposive because I aimed specifically for parents of children in the KG age range, so from 4 to 6 years old. I also wanted to see the involvement patterns in different socioeconomic statuses, SAS. So I looked at the high SAS and the low SAS, and I defined the SAS based on 3 elements: the parents' education. So, for example, in the high SAS, there were 12 mothers, and they all had BAs, mostly from international universities here in Egypt. When it comes to the low SAS, 6 of the 10 participants did not join school at all. They did not have even basic literacy skills and did not even know how to write or read. And some of them dropped out of school in secondary and 2 continued the vocational track. The second element that decided the parents' SAS was their occupation and the spouse's occupation, and the third element was the schooling type that they intend to enroll their children at, because this is somewhat indicative of the amount of their income. So when it comes to the high SAS, most of them planned to enroll their children in international schools, yet when it comes to the low SAS, all of them plan to enroll their children in public schools. So I've been talking about some of my findings. The first theme, the KG standing, when it comes to the enrollment, as you can see, 83.3% of the parents in the high SAS have enrolled their children in preschool facilities, and 80% of the low SAS have enrolled their children in preschool facilities. So as you can see, both percentages are very high. Yet there's something very important to note, that the parents in the high SAS who did not enroll their children, it was based on their personal preference. Yet the parents in the low SAS who did not enroll their children said that they wanted to, but they could not afford to pay the public facilities fees. Theme 1, KG standing, the second part was addressing parents' needs. 3 out of 10 parents who had enrolled their children in preschool facilities said that their children's preschools offered them workshops to teach them several things such as positive discipline, how to control their temper with their children, and they offered several other workshops. And 2 of the parents mentioned that their children's preschools tackled specifically the topic of literacy development in the workshops. When it comes to the low SES, all of them mentioned that the public facilities do not offer parents workshops of any kind and do not address any of the parents' needs. So as you can see from these figures, both public and private facilities need to work on addressing the parents' needs more. Perhaps the private facilities are at a bit of more advantage. The second theme was parental awareness, and here I asked the parents to what extent they think reading to their children from early on is important and why. Okay? It was very, very interesting to see that all the 22 participants from all participants from the high SAS and the low SAS, they all said that reading to children from very early on is very important, and they seemed very, very certain about it. Yet, the high SAS and the low SAS had very different reasons. So when it came to the high SAS, they said reading to our children is important because it enhances their phonemic awareness. It broadens their vocabulary. It's a way of bonding with the children. It makes the children more expressive and attentive. It builds children's interests in reading. So as you can see, the answers of the participants in the high SAS were very specific. Yet, when it came to the low SAS, they said reading to our children is very important because it will get them jobs later on. Even more parents said because reading is important, and when I asked them to elaborate, like why is reading important, they could not go beyond this point. They said reading is it's very important. Yet, even more parents said that reading to our children is important because we don't want them to turn out like us. So, as you can see, that the two SAS had very high awareness of the importance of reading, yet the high SAS, they knew the exact benefits of reading to the children, while the low SAS, they knew that reading is important because they themselves missed the literacy aspect in their lives. I also wanted to test the parents' awareness when put to practice. So I asked the parents, how regularly do you read to your child? When it comes to the high SAS, the majority, 58.3%, said that they read to their children on a daily basis. 16.7% said 4 to 6 times per week, the same 1 to 3 times per week, and only 8.3% said 0. When it comes to the low SES, 6 parents didn't know how to read or write in the first place, and 2 parents who had basic literacy skills said that we never thought of the idea of reading to our children. So 80% said they read to their child 0 times per week, and only 20% said 1 to 3 times per week. So in conclusion, the high SES read more to their children. The third theme was parental willingness to get involved, and I asked parents the extent to which they are willing to do several statements like attending workshops, letting the child participate in reading programs, attending parent-teacher meetings, buying books and educational materials, spending time to write with the child, and providing the child with the memberships in libraries. And I gave them these to choose from: definitely not willing, not willing, probably not willing, probably willing, and sure willing. Both the high and the low SAS had very high willingness levels to be involved with their children. Most of them answered probably willing or sure willing. Yet, when it comes to some point like buy books or other educational materials to the child, the low SAS said it depends on the price of these materials. Also, one parent said I'm not sure if I will be willing to buy books. I already clean in a house and I read books from there, and then I go and tell these stories to my children. When it comes to providing children with memberships in public libraries, two parents from the high SES said we're not very willing because the private facilities in Egypt are not very adequate. Yet, when it came to the low SES, they said that we are sure willing to provide our children with memberships in libraries if they are for free. So, in conclusion to this point, the high SES willingness levels was according to their personal preferences, yet when it comes to the low SES, they were constrained by their income. The fourth theme I tackled was the parents' capabilities, and I asked parents to rate themselves from 1 to 5, how willing they are to do certain activities with their children, with 1 being incapable and 5 very capable, like reading to their child, helping the child write a story, and other elements. And then after these close-ended questions, there was an open-ended one. How would you generally comment on your capabilities to help your child read? The results showed that the high SES, most of them rated themselves as 4 or 5, showing that they saw themselves as very capable in getting involved with their children. Yet there was an exception of few points, like helping my child write a story. Some parents found that a bit problematic. Yet when it comes to the low SES, I couldn't even ask them most of the questions because they couldn't read or write, so I'm not going to ask them, rate yourself, how capable are you to read or write with your child, and so on. So when it came to the open-ended question, most of them found themselves very incapable to help their children develop their literacy skills. Now, the fifth very interesting theme is parental involvement in terms of gender. I asked the parents who spends more time engaging in educational activities with the child. When it comes to the high SES, 75% of the mothers said that they are more involved with the child. 16.7 said that both parents are involved, and 8.3 said it was other. When it comes to the low SES, 90% said the mother was more involved, and 10% it was a mother that said that the father had some basic literacy skills that she did not have, so he was more involved. I then asked them what do they think that literacy development and being involved in the child's general education is the role of one parent more than the other, and if yes, then whom? When it comes to the high SES, the vast majority, 83.3%, said that it was the role of both parents. And two mothers, 16.7%, said that it was more of the mother's role, yet in the comments section they said that the father also needs to be somewhat involved. When it comes to the low SES, strikingly, 90% said that it's the mother's job. She's the one who needs to be more involved. And only 10% said the father should be more involved, and it was a father actually. And when I asked him why, he said because the mother should not go out of the house. The man should be the one who talks with the child's teachers and know the teachers and gets him private tutors and all that. So he had a strange perception. I then asked the parents to comment on the fact that in general mothers are more involved, and the high SES said it's a community inherited cultural idea that is so wrong. And another comment was that it's very unfair for mothers to be the only ones involved with the child, and that it will enrich the child's experience if both parents take part. When it comes to the low SES, one mother said it's the mother's duty to do everything for her child. Another mother who actually took the vocational track and had a diploma said we as mothers have no chance to work. The father is the one who works, and consequently the mother stays at home and cares for children. So in conclusion to this gender theme, I found that the realities of the high income and the low income are somewhat similar, where mothers are more involved. Perhaps the low income mother is a bit more involved than the high SAS, yet both the high and the low SAS, the mothers were more involved, yet participants from the high SAS were more aware of the importance of the father also taking part. As for the limitations of my study, as you saw, I had a limited number of participants. I used only one tool. It was interesting in the online questionnaire, one mother mentioned it would be interesting to have a focus group, so maybe this would be one tool to add. All participants were in one governorate, Cairo, so it would be interesting to look also at other governorates. Also, my study covered only two socioeconomic levels, so it would be good to look at more. As for the recommendations, it's of course avoiding all the past limitations, and one recommendation that I have is, instead of surveying the parents through a theoretical questionnaire, perhaps we can test the parents' willingness to participate and their capabilities and view through a practical program. One of the, I suggested in my thesis, one of the programs that I reviewed and which I see can be very easily applied in the Egyptian context. In conclusion, I believe that my study filled several gaps when it comes to data availability, and it reached initial yet in-depth findings. And this is the best part, the acknowledgements. And alhamdulillah, أولاً وأخيراً. And I want to thank my family, my mom, thank you for the support and the constant nagging. And I want to thank my father for being involved and for always asking how well I was doing with my studies, starting kindergarten until grad school. And my sister for babysitting my daughter and myself at times. And I want to thank my brother also for his support. And also babysitting Maria. I also want to thank my husband. I couldn't have done it without your support. And to my daughter Maria. I think she is the only explanation of how I started this MA with interests in politics of education and ended up doing my thesis on parental involvement in early childhood literacy. So thank you for being my inspiration. I also want to thank Dr. Najwa Mujahid for truly investing in us. And I want to thank Dr. Azan Zain, my leader. Truly she is GSE's walking, talking encyclopedia. I want to thank my GSE professors, especially Dr. Malak Zarouk, Dr. Hibat Degeni, she's not here, and Dr. Jehan Oswan. Thank you so much, and my colleagues, thank you. It's been a wonderful journey, and I guess that's it. Thank you.
This topic, as we said, we hope lots of people take up the topic very soon. And now we'll have a short break. We'll have a short break, and then hopefully our next three presenters will come. They're engaged in the rehearsal for graduation for the commencement. So just please have a coffee and tea and juice and some nice thing there. So, thank you.